Welcome to the Calm Analytics channel. I'm Boris Tiesenghausen. April 20th, here is the top news as of this minute. The Russian port of Tuapse has been attacked again. I'll show you the footage now, just look at the scale of it. Hey, no need to take photos, buddy, you hear me, friend. You could film a disaster movie right here, though in Russia, I think you could film one anywhere. A disaster movie. Putin, Gerasimov, where's the air defense? This is far from the first attack. A few days ago, drones already paid a visit to this port. And well, it's probably time for Russians to learn one truth. Ukrainian drones will definitely arrive and finish off the target, which is vital for the Russian military-industrial complex. And now I'll show you another moment from the night attack on this port. You can see how first Russian air defenses missed the drones, they hit the tanks, but notice the density of the fire and how and where the Russians are directing it. They're firing right across the bay, and on the other side where they're shooting, you can see a huge number of Russian residential buildings. Take a look. I'm at a loss for words. Is this still a victory cry or just chaos now? I just can't tell. By the way, an important point. After Ukrainian drones and missiles hit the port of Novorossiysk, the main oil port on the Black Sea, some of the oil flow was redirected, right here, to Tuapse. So at the time of the strike, it was actually an overloaded backup hub. Also, notice that now, after the drone attack, massive oil depots and port terminals are burning down. Before, one or two drones didn't cause much damage, but now the entire oil depot is ablaze. Tuapse is one of the Russian Federation's key export hubs on the Black Sea. Its refining capacity is 240,000 barrels per day. And if the refinery, which was also hit by drones, stays operational but the tank farm burns down, where will they store the oil then? Where will they send it? And let me remind you, a few days ago, drones disabled the oil loading terminal. So where is all of this going to be stored? Ukraine's unmanned systems forces are acting very strategically. Well, if they hit Novorossiysk again now, Putin will be left with no Black Sea oil exports at all. And I think that they are about to give him quite a surprise. But that's not all. The GUR struck two large landing ships of the Russian Federation in occupied Crimea. Both ships have been put out of action. The strike was carried out by the GUR Special Unit Primary, the Ghosts. So they've disabled them. The Project 775 large landing ship Yamal and the Project 1171 Nikolai Filchenkov. Let's take a look at how it happened. At the time of the strike, the enemy ships belonging to the Russian Black Sea Fleet were in Sevastopol Bay, the GUR reports. And GUR fighters also took out a Podlet radar station. In fact, every day in Crimea, they're now destroying either air defense system components or radar stations. Basically, something is happening. And the Yamal is a very serious ship, 112 meters long, and its cost is around $80 million, while the Nikolai Filchenkov costs about $70 million, so poof, and Putin is down $150 million. But the issue here isn't the money, it's the ability to produce such ships and how long it takes. Just the other day, drones hit an oil depot in Sevastopol in Kamyshova Bay. It's still burning there. Locals joke they haven't seen volcanoes like that in a long time. Black smoke is just pouring out of there. Although the local Gauleiter says there were no fuel or lubricants there at all. There was nothing there at all. It's been blazing for 2 days now. So look, minus 2 large landing ships, minus an oil depot in Sevastopol. And just a few weeks ago in Sevastopol, they completely trashed the Almazante service center for repairing S-300 and S-400 air defense systems. It was a crucial hub. At least 9 drones hit that building where the air defense systems were being repaired. I showed this video where we counted them together. So what's going on? Where are the air defense systems in Sevastopol? It's clear that there's no talk of a resort season anymore, and not just in Sevastopol, but in all of Crimea. Good people from Sevastopol report that the occupiers' mood has dropped somewhat, and they're complaining. How can this be? Putin says on television that everything is going according to plan, but Ukrainian drones are hitting military targets in Crimea more often and more accurately. Let me remind you, the Black Sea Fleet, which is supposed to protect the occupiers, fled Sevastopol long ago to Novorossiysk, but even there, it's running out of space. What's happening? Even the dumbest occupier can put 2 and 2 together. Every day in Crimea, air defense systems are being knocked out, their numbers are dwindling, while more and more drones are flying into occupied Crimea. I'm from Sevastopol myself. Some messed up acquaintances stayed there who were very happy about the occupation, though I don't know where they are now. But mostly they were kids. From the families of Russian military personnel. And I had an acquaintance there, Oleg Vatnik Oleg. You know, there was Oleg the Prophet, the Varangian Prince of Kiev, but this is Vatnik Oleg. He loved wearing a t-shirt with USSR on it and Putin's portrait, which made the portrait stretch out across his belly in all sorts of directions. A most disgusting character. I'd love to see now. How do you like that, Vatnik Oleg? Though I think he's long since been disposed of. He never wanted to work, didn't like it, lazy, greedy, stupid. I think he 100% fell for the fairy tales from the Russian Ministry of Defense. Sign a contract, get $1 billion, you'll sit in the rear, drink glass cleaner cocktails, and enjoy life. He 100% fell for this propaganda. But Putin can't lie to him, right? And Vatnik Oleg is lying somewhere, or rather what's left of him, in the endless steppes of Ukraine. By the way, friends, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You can do it right now. There are 503,000 of us on the main channel, which is quite a lot. I'm grateful to you for being with me, so subscribe if you haven't already. But that's not all. The Russians aren't giving up their offensive attempts, and soldiers of the 71st Brigade eliminated 35 Russian occupiers during a breakthrough attempt via a gas pipeline and on ATVs. So they were crawling through a pipe again, some kind of pipe. One group crawled through the pipe while the other tried to break through on ATVs. Now both groups are slightly not alive. 35 occupiers. What is it with them? Being drawn to pipes, huh? As soon as Russians see a pipe, they crawl right into it. Someone in the comments even suggested scattering pieces of pipe on the border with Russia welding one end shut, and the Russians would pack themselves in there like crayfish in a trap. In every episode, we hold an important fundraiser for Ukraine's defense forces who are performing a true feat right now. They've stopped the Russians and are destroying them, those occupiers who have come onto our land. Today, we're continuing the fundraiser for the Freedom of Russia Legion, which is fighting for Ukraine. The collection is for repairing damaged equipment and for purchasing drones. Legion fighters are currently fighting in almost all of the hottest areas. And one more important point. The Legion isn't just fighting on the front lines, but also deep behind enemy lines. The Legion's commander, the legendary Caesar, has recorded a video message for you. Please have a listen.
Дорогой Борис Тизенгаузен, уважаемые подписчики его канала, от имени бойцов Легиона Свобода России я хочу поблагодарить вас за всю ту помощь, которую вы нам не раз оказывали. Сейчас я снова обращаюсь к вам за помощью. Нам нужны средства на ремонт наших автомобилей, нам нужны средства на закупку БПЛА. Мы будем вам очень благодарны и в этот раз. Вместе с вами мы обязательно победим. Слава Украине! Свобода России!
Let's help the Legion. The link to the fundraiser is in the description of this video. There's Mono and PayPal for those who want to help from abroad. And in every episode, I say a huge thank you to you for supporting Ukraine and our warriors. Thank you so much. If you happen to be watching on another channel, there's always a QR code in the corner. It also leads directly to the fundraiser. While in Russia, the wave of revelations continues, suddenly they've started speaking openly about uncomfortable things and noticing what used to be unacceptable or dangerous to notice. I'll show you a video in a moment, but before that, I want to remind you that Putin spends about $1 billion in direct and indirect costs on this war every day. Imagine, $1 billion a day. Keep this figure in mind and watch this video from Yakutsk, from the diamond capital of Russia.
Приехали мы к одному дому. Это жилой дом в городе Якутске. И мы сейчас покажем подъезд какой здесь.
По поводу этого аварийного жилья, конечно, надо людей вытаскивать из бараков.
Чтобы зайти в этот подъезд, чтобы вы понимали, республика золото, алмазодобывающая, да? И как живут люди, обычные люди. Зайти сюда вот так вот невозможно, понимаете? Вот. То есть, вот и так приходится заходить в подъезд. Представляете? Это все, чтобы вы понимали, это все канализация растаянная. Ну, вы понимаете, как? Фекальные воды. Вот. Ну, состояние подъезда вот такое вот. В квартире точно такие же. В квартирах прям... Стены лопаются.
The diamond capital of Russia, gold mines, but this is how Russians live there. Knee-deep in sewage, the house soon is about to collapse. But meanwhile, for 15 years, Putin has been saying that Russians need to be pulled out of the slums. Oh, they need to be pulled out. What kind of greatness are the fans of the Russian world talking about? Where is great Russia? Greatness is when your elderly don't live knee-deep in sewage, when your people live with dignity. And not just your Tsar. And here we have our regular segment, Who Let the Internet into the Wood? So, Shoigu made a statement and said the following. The main reason for the current genocide of the Ukrainian and Russian peoples is Zelensky, Shoigu stated. That's Shoigu for you. Don't forget to take your pills. Don't forget. Remind me, maybe I've got something mixed up, but back in 2014, when Putin annexed Crimea, when he occupied part of Donbass, what did Zelensky have to do with it? Where was Zelensky? He was working as a producer in his kvartal. Well, they just can't seem to admit that a foolish KGB grandpa is pushing their country into the abyss. Everyone else is to blame. And in 2014, it even turns out that Zelensky is the one to blame. By the way, it turns out Shoigu admitted that there is, after all, a genocide of the Ukrainian people. And for words like that in Russia, you can very quickly be sent to chop wood in Siberia. Interesting news. Yesterday, Putin's motorcade rushed to the Kremlin at night. Local telegram channels reported it, and then the media picked it up. The reason for such a late visit remains unknown. I actually think Putin hasn't traveled in that motorcade for a long time now. He's zooming around in a trolley underground, at best. But he's a coward. He's a first-class chicken. Excuse my French. I think his fear has intensified even more lately, especially after the liquidation of Ayatollah Khamenei in Iran. Whoosh, the missiles arrive and the dictator is gone. What motorcade, especially at night? What did he forget a set of suitcases there or something? He's just, I think, running the motorcade back and forth so everyone thinks he's up to something serious, while he sits somewhere in his rat hole. By the way, I came across a very interesting statement yesterday from US Army Secretary Dan Driscoll. I was pleasantly surprised that not everyone thinks Ukraine has no cards left to play. How times change, right? And when was that? February 2025, Donald Trump was saying, "Don't tell us fairy tales," he said. "You don't have any cards at all." And now, April 2026, US Army Secretary Dan Driscoll states that the US Army, it turns out, is learning a lot from the Ukrainian armed forces. He was speaking in Congress giving testimony and noted that he'd been to Kyiv and spent a lot of time with representatives of the Ukrainian leadership. He added that the US is indeed adopting their experience. Let me quote him. "They have fundamentally changed the way people conduct conflict. They've done an absolutely amazing job in the field of innovation, and I have publicly stated that we are learning a lot from them and implementing many lessons they've given us," the US Army Secretary stated. I spoke in detail about this in the last episode, that Ukraine no longer relies entirely on US aid, and that's putting it mildly. It's looking toward European partners and new partners, including those from the Middle East. The Russian spring offensive has stalled. And this is despite the fact that aid from the United States is currently minimal. But just how much the strikes have increased, both in quality and quantity, deep into the Russian Federation, at short, medium, and long ranges, I think you can see that for yourselves. The next significant turning point in this war, I believe, will be the moment when Ukrainian ballistic missiles start hitting the territory of the Russian Federation. I have a feeling that this day is not far off. Well, in the Middle East, everything is once again unclear and unsettled. The United States fired upon a container ship that was attempting to break the blockade. Not only that, but paratroopers also landed on it. In response, Iran launched drones at American ships. Oil prices have started to climb again. In short, it's a game of chicken, to see who blinks first. Trump is at it again. In an interview with Fox News, if Iran doesn't accept the deal, the entire country will be destroyed, Donald Trump stated. Well, he also threatened to destroy all power plants and bridges in Iran if Iran refuses the deal. He also claimed that destroying power plants and bridges would be an honor for him and that it should have been done by other US administrations over the past 47 years. Well, meanwhile, Iran has refused to participate in the second round of talks with the US, Reuters reports that the US could start bombing Iran again on Tuesday evening, which is tomorrow. We'll see how events unfold. Anyway, once again, by the way, some secret trader is playing with the market quotes. In short, I think this trader will be caught soon and everyone will be surprised, or maybe not that surprised. With Orban gone, Putin has only one loyal vassal left in Europe, Robert Fico, but without Orban, Fico isn't ready for a harsh confrontation with the European Union. But as for kissing Putin's Botoxed backside, please, that's always a pleasure for him. He even plans to fly to him on May 9th. Imagine what a piece of trash. Latvia and Lithuania will not allow Robert Fico's plane to pass, as he intends to visit Moscow on May 9th. They have already announced this, so apparently there's already been a leak somewhere that this parasite is planning to go, and I wonder how will he do it? He'll probably be sitting somewhere there in the stands. In front of him will march those cannibals, murderers, and maniacs released from Russian prisons who have now become heroes in Russia for killing Ukrainians. So they'll be marching in front of him and he'll just sit there and be happy. Or what? I have a feeling that this parade won't happen. I'd actually like it to take place, and right at the most critical moment, that siren goes off and all those devils start scurrying away like cockroaches across the stands. So now the news segment about Crimea from the Crimean Partisans. The Crimean Partisans, let me remind you, are a large-scale movement in Crimea with a wide network of people across the peninsula, bringing Ukraine's victory and Crimea's reunification with mainland Ukraine closer. We have very warm, trusting relations with the Crimean Partisans, so we have a regular segment now every single week. By the way, they send you their best regards. So what are they saying in Crimea? Crimea is returning to the 90s. That is, in most shops in Crimea, they no longer accept cards, asking customers to pay in cash instead. Well, cards aren't accepted. Mobile internet will be gone soon. What's next for them? Maps for navigation, they're already buying paper ones. Rotary and push-button phones are being installed, landlines right there in the apartments. So they're getting ready. Oh, like that meme, Grandma. We don't need none of your internet. We lived without it before, and we'll live without it now. As they say, we'll live poorly, but not for long. That's the new motto. For Putin's Russia, Feodosia is open again 2 weeks after the drone attack. Yeah, I haven't mentioned Feodosia yet. The oil depot in Feodosia was ablaze, the main one, the largest. And now they've opened some streets around that oil depot. They had been blocked off. A local collaborator reported that it's over. The streets are open. You can drive through citizens. Well, why did they block them? If they think they hid the movement of their air defense systems from Crimean partisans, they're dead wrong. Actually, I don't envy those living near this oil depot that the occupiers are using. Until it burns out completely, our drones will not rest. Our drones are very, very hardworking. And one more piece of news. Lukashenko called Putin and Trump emperors and added that unlike them, he doesn't need universal love. Well, if you don't need it, you certainly don't have it. I'll quote Lukashenko. He's been quite talkative lately, really speaking out. The Lord inspired me to perceive the situation exactly as it is. and he always suggested to me, the Lord, that not everyone will love you. I am not an emperor like Donald Trump or Putin. They can afford to talk about being loved. I don't have the same opportunities they do. Yeah, the Spud's been talking a lot lately. As far as I know, Lukashenko was sent a final warning from Ukraine. He was reminded about the relays that direct Russian Shaheds through Belarus and about possible attempts at provocations on the border. In other words, he was warned very, very seriously. Also, Lukashenko noted that dictatorship always leads to defeat or collapse, and he thinks something similar happened to the United States and to Iran. Maybe not a collapse, but something resembling a defeat, so he still doesn't accept that he has a dictatorship there in Belarus. Can you imagine? 32 years in power, it'll soon be 32, and he still thinks he's not a dictator. Does he think it's a democracy for 32 years? He's wiped out all political opposition, including physically. Anyway, as far as I can tell, friends, crazy old men are trying to seize power in the world, and it's turned out to be quite dangerous. But you, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, subscribe to this channel, don't forget, and I'm really asking you, let's help the Legion. The link to the fundraiser is in the description of this video. Have a peaceful day, everyone, and glory to Ukraine.